Hey everybody, this is Tyler Janke, the Between Two Years podcast. Last year we put out a cornering video, the importance of this. Look, you could be really good on the corners and then be in the break and some bad stuff happens. We're going to talk about that, a breakdown of the Masters 35 race at Cal Aggie 2020 coming up, 35 plus 1, 2, 3 right now. And appreciate you joining us. We're going to do a little breakdown video. This is the start of the race, but we're going to skip ahead, do like the last 7 laps. On board, Tyler Janke, that's me, my camera, my bike, and then we're also going to join in Jeff Scott on his bike, have a little dual video going. First, we're going to talk about some of the protagonists from the team. I'm on the data-driven athlete cycling team. We had 6 riders out at this race, and we're a pretty motley crew, but we get it done. We race a lot and ride a lot together. That's us right there. 6 of us. Starting out, let's introduce left to right. Chris Flower, one of the big bullets on the team. He will chase you down. He will pull for the sprinters. Ryan Cheperneck, another cat too. He's coming back from a little back injury, but always chipper and ready to go. Jeff Scott, no arms, but look, he's all legs anyways. He's a sprinter. He's a climber. He's a all-around good guy. John Novikov just won the 45 race. He loves sideways pitchers. Stefan Creason, good climber. He'll chase you down and do some work in the race. Tyler Janke, he helps sprinters. Look, that was my little homage to Monty Python. Terry Gilliam, one American on the crew there. Terry Jones just died. Look, big fan. So we did some cutouts, put him in there. No big feet smotched in anybody. All right, let's get to the race. So we're coming in here. They've gone about, I think we're going to come up on, we're like 7.5 laps here. I'm going to introduce as many people as I can in this race. I'm kind of on the wheel right now of Chris Baker, really good riders. You look at the numbers of your license numbers. If you look at registration, he's the lowest number. I thought I had the low number, really small digits, 5-digit number. That Mike Sayers and I are in the 50,000s, and he is in the 40-some thousands. So he had his license long before I did, which just means he was a younger junior racer. Anyway, doesn't matter. He's on Touchstone. They have Chris Espy, Mike Sayers in this race. Really good masters. So what we're showing here, the last 6-7 laps get really weird. The race, no one had really been getting away all day. People have been chasing. Anytime our guy John Novikov, who had won this race last year, and then he had won previously in the day the 45, so everyone was on him for any moves he made. Likewise, Michael Claudio, who has won this race as well from a break solo. Every time he took a move, people were on him as well. Mike Sayers, another solid rider. We've known about him nationally. He just was second in the 45s race to our John Novikov. And he's a dangerous guy, so everyone's looking at him. Another one was Jason Graffath of Thirsty Bear. He's trouble, man. He won the 45s here the last 2 years in a row in a break, so you had to watch him. So Chris Baker taking off up the front. I think at the front right now is Mike Sayers, his teammate. Another guy was heading up the road. I think Anthony Brantley. He gets in there. Mike Sayers, Jason Graffath, and then there was 7 to go. And then there was another guy, Richardson Bike Mart. I don't know who what his name actually is. But, look, some of the results have been all screwed up too, so I'm not sure. I'm looking here at the results now. Rick Weatherald, maybe, from Michigan. Maybe that's who that was up the road as well. Okay, so what we have Folsom Bike. They have right over here to the right, Wilson. They had 6-7 riders of themselves in the race. We had just pretty much gone against them in the 45s. They were able to add into this race their sprint extraordinaire Josh Wood. They got a very strong kick. He was kind of marking our John Novikov. John was kind of marking him. Right here in front is Michael Claudio, Clint Clausen, cyclocross guy, local, really strong. So we had some people to watch. Cam Walker over here to the right on Folsom Bike. They're kind of a new mishmash of conglomerate of team this year. I mean, the team's been around, but the actual riders this year, a little bit newer. And so they're still learning who's doing what, and they're going to be definitely well. And they were in this race and the 45s. They were worthy contenders. Look, this is what I say about the data-driven athlete team, though. We do a lot of group rides together. We do race together, and we just kind of know how to slot in. Our plan coming into this, and you always have to have a plan, and really it's hard to sometimes. And look at this, it's all stretched out here. You're going to start seeing, like I said, there's a break up the road. Chris Flower on our team, she went up there to do a lot of work to try to bring it back. We weren't too concerned as of yet because you're going to be going 6 laps to go, and we still had our whole team. We didn't want to fire the whole team up there, bring the brake back too quick, and then look for a counter move that can go off of this. That's a dangerous thing to do as well. Plus, there was Folsom Bike here with a big, strong team. They had, like I said, 6-7 guys. They had Cameron. They had Josh Wood that can sprint, Rick Reinhardt. And so we knew that they were not in the move because Anthony Brantley, their teammate, ends up coming out of that. So they had motivation to chase as well. When you saw him come out, we said, okay, look, we can at least maybe shake the tree and get both of us there. But our team, like I said, our plan coming in here was John was a good sprinter, but we also had, and there's Chris actually going up to do some work. We also had Jeff Scott, who can sprint really well. And so our idea was we're going to set them both up. Do a lead out mostly for John, but have Jeff sit on his wheel and let our 2 guys kind of sprint it out together. We felt that we can do a good enough lead out, and I would do a hard punch before, and so we thought we had a good chance. And actually last year we got 1st and 3rd with those 2 guys, so we thought we could do it again. And what that benefits is, it comes down to if we don't get the right guy in the break, even if Jeff or John are up there, or Stefan gets up in the break, Chris, any of us. We don't have to do the work. We can kind of dictate and say, hey, we've got our sprinters behind, unless it's the exact mix that we want. If we're getting in a break with Josh Wood, no, we're not going to do all the work. We're going to break with Mike Sayers? No, we're not going to do all the work. So it kind of depends on, who's up there. Okay, so once again, we're inside 6 here. We've pushed it pretty good. The break's not too far out. There's some controversy on posting online. Jason Graffath thought that this was the winning break. Very likely could have been. It does not end up being, as you're going to see coming around this corner. We did a little prelude of things to come. And the slow-mo leading up to this, the arm waving, riders down. So we ended up catching, they all went down. I guess Chris Baker, Touchstone, said he just slid out, broke his bike in like 3 pieces. Everyone went down in the break there. The only one that did not was Mike Sayers. So the race is still kind of on, and Sayers kind of keeps going, and as you can see here, guys are stretching out, they're splitting up. We're not really sure what's going on, and I see 2 of my teammates going up there. Stefan's kind of drilling it, so I'm thinking right here is I'm going to slot in front of Stefan and look at my power. I'm just going to bring it down and let them get away. But then I start looking to see who's up there, and I go, I think Sayers is up there. Cam Walker's up there. There might be another guy. I'm concerned that the sprint is not where we want. So I say, nope, we're going to bring us back. And I don't like the mix that we have in the odds of getting Sayers up the road and letting him kind of do his deeds. And I think maybe Josh Wood is even up here too. So it just did not look good for me. So I decided with Stefan, we're going to just do what we can. We'll bring this, kind of nut this back together. Especially after the big dangerous break was just away, and we kind of lucked out with not having to do anything because unfortunately those guys crashed out. Feel bad for them, especially Chris Baker. His bike was just trashed. And yeah, see, so Josh Wood was up there. But look, there's even a little gap to these guys as well. So I'm like, nope, let's keep bringing this back together. I'm not really looking behind because what you end up seeing a little later on is gaps. People just not coming through. They're kind of sitting up, and when the pace is on, as hard as it is, you can end up splitting things up. So we get up to these guys, and I think it's Claudio, Cam Walker, Sack Golden Wheelman guy. I think it's Peter Kelleher, but still up the road is Sayers. So not going to want him to go solo. Davis Bike guy comes around. Keith Solers, I believe that's who that is. Try to call out as many people as we can. So that was on the lap 6, 5 to go. and we're bringing Sayers back. So Sayers loses a teammate. He was kind of making a desperate go of it here with Chris Baker out, his bike trashed. He still has Chris Espy for him in support there, but getting it all back together. And now concern is making sure we line it up for our teammate John and keep things kind of tight. Part of the problem, we had been watching Michael Claudio time after time keep going up the road, and he's over here to the right, and here he goes. And this, I think I just heard Chris tell Stefan, hey, just go with Claudio. Now, Michael Claudio is a very strong rider, and he can basically hold off the field as he did a few years ago here. But he's not going to necessarily win in a field sprint. Not going to necessarily win from a break of 10. If you've got a decent sprinter in the group, he will definitely, top 5 there. But he's not that kind of danger as far as the sprint goes. But I mean, the guy's just a beast. So he's a problem going up the road all the time, and you really have to kind of set someone on him, or you're going to end up doing like this, chasing. So people are chasing him a lot, and we were doing that all day, and it was making the day really tough, and it really was kind of a disadvantage for how we ended up doing it. Personally, I wasn't feeling so good, so we kept the pace on and trying to chase these people down, but it was really for us chasing people down. Now we're going to bring Jeff Scott into the mix, and also his camera on the top left there, so you can kind of get an idea. He's in front of me just a little bit here. Mine's the bigger screen. Once again, Chris Flower coming up. We did a lot of this rotating to the front, keeping the pace high, chasing things down. All of our riders, Chepernick over on the right, Jeff Scott up to my top. Okay, like I said, we had a plan coming in here. We talked about it of, there's things you can do in a bike race. It's, sometimes we were even discussing a real elaborate plan, and it was too elaborate to the point of it relies on a lot of other teams to be doing, X, Y, and Z. And really you have to put yourself in a position to have an idea of what you want to do, and then to be able to react. And a lot of that has to do with your training and your riding together, of knowing how different people ride and how different people race. We do that a lot. So for us, it's intuitive in a sense of we know each other's skills. Like I said, we had 2 guys that we knew were going to be sprinting. So if either one of those got in a break, it was going to be beneficial. We knew that we all had to take the front. One of the things we really wanted to be able to do is to get some of our other riders up in the break, so we didn't have to do chasing. And that's actually one of the problems that we had on this day, was not getting our riders up in the break initially. And so like you saw earlier there, I had to do some work to kind of stitch our guys back together to make sure we were in the right spots. Chris has been doing that on the front. Stefan's been doing that. We're having to chase down Michael Claudio. We're going to have a preem lap coming up here pretty soon. So Clint Clausen just out here in front of me in the, what's that, kind of light blue, in a green bike. He's a real good cross rider. I think he said he had a really soft tire and I rode in with him on the kind of a cool down lap, and his tire was basically flat. Okay, so we're moving up here. A lot of my teammates, Folsom bike guys. As you can see, there's kind of just, I don't know what's going on. I think they're getting ready for a preem lap, so everyone's kind of freaking out, and there's gaps here. So I didn't have a real punchy day. I did a lot of this kind of 600 watt out of corners, really trying to spin my way back onto people's wheels. You can see that Jeff Scott's yelling at people. He's flying around on Chris's wheel, but there's people up the road. So we got to be worried, because part of the problem, and I need to maybe do this more, is sprint with preems, not necessarily for them, so that you're up and you're ready to go. Because these guys, they sprint up here, and then they're just, and so Chris took a big pull, comes by us, comes by Jeff. Jeff yells at him, last person. I do the same thing. I think he might have been done for the day at that point. Anyway, so one of the strategies you can do is, here goes Chris, is when you have a preem, is to sprint with it even if you're not looking at sprinting for it, just so that you can actually be prepared to kind of, people like to take flyers from there, and if you are with it, you can obviously sometimes just go. You don't have to worry so much about trying to, you know, chase things down, or sometimes it's just a little bit of an effort that you have to do so that you don't have to stress it. Okay, look at that big gap. I'm here. Things keep stretching out. Finally getting back up to the main group here, the Cycle and Wheelman. Getting up to my teammates, getting up to Jeff. Come through the chicane here. You can see the route in the top right there. It's a really odd kidney, maybe. We're on the top part of the map, which is actually the bottom parts of the course here. So once again, stretched out. It's been stretched out here for the last several laps, the entire lap actually at this point. And I don't realize how strung out it is, and how, you know, even though I had to bridge some gaps, I go around John here, my teammate, a good sprinter. He's stuck in here, right on Sayers, right on Josh Wood, right on Chepernick. But there's big gaps here, so I go on up. I think this is this is Folsom Bike. I think this is Rick here, and they had formed a little gap. So Jeff's, you can see that Jeff and Chris are just pushing the pace up at the front on the top left there. And I'm sitting here on Rick, and I go, you know what? All these gaps are formed. It wasn't my fault. I've got Jeff up the road. I've got Stefan up the road. Yeah, because Chris had already been gone through. I'm not going to do any work. I'm going to let him pull. And I haven't looked behind. I don't know what's behind me. But, you know, we're doing high 20s here. And Rick is doing a good job of getting us up there. And about this point, I decided to take a look back to see who's going to come through, and I realized there's a huge gap. Matter of fact, the gap behind is much bigger, and Jeff is obviously realizing that. So I'm like, oh, let's just gun it. I'm going to get up to my sprinters up there, my sprinter Jeff, and see what I can do to help. I thought maybe I was going to get rid of Rick, but not. So look, I'm looking back, and I see we just have a huge gap. Jeff notices we have a huge gap. He's yelling at those guys to work together. So here's what it is. Jeff's one of our sprinters. This is golden for us. And I'm looking up here, who are these other guys? Davis guy. Don't know much about him. The Sack Golden Wheelman guy, I think we could beat him. We got Chris Espy. We have Reinert's behind us. We have Cam Walker. We have Stefan. Stefan's on the front drilling it. We have 2 laps to go. So we just came through with 2 laps to go, and I'm like, oh, this is it. And we're going to let Stefan do as much as he can. My concern isn't right now. There's 2 things you got to worry about, right? First thing you worry about is staying away from the actual group behind us. Now, we have John back there as a sprinter. We have Chris. We have Ryan Chepernick. Those guys can help with the lead out for John. They're more than capable of doing that. So I'm not concerned about what happened, because we're sitting in a great spot. Our 1A sprinter, 2A sprinter, whatever it is here in the break with us, and he's one of the guys we were setting up anyway. I did a lead up for him last week on a group ride. He smashed it. So now look, Cam's not going hard enough for me. So I want to make sure we're just staying away. So it's time to really put it on. If you look up in the top left there, Jeff, some little bit of gaps. Maybe I hit it too hard to begin with. Maybe should have taken this. And look, in hindsight, we had such a big gap. I did not realize how good it was, but it was a little desperation mode. I'm going all in here, pretty much as hard as I'm going to be able to go to try to get us, till 1 to go, and if further, and the further I could do, the better. Now, I was hoping Stefan was staying on, but he had already dropped off, so we just have Jeff back there. But Jeff is a super savvy rider, and like I said, there's 2 goals here. One is to first get the gap to make sure we stay away, and then I could do what I can to help him with the sprint. So I'm unloading the cannon here as much as possible, and because I want to make sure that we can stay away. I'll also Bill Lap. I also trust Jeff extremely on his ability to ride. He's very savvy, and you can hear him yelling. He knows what's going on back there. He's really savvy, and he also, he's got the power, and he's not going. So I need some help. This guy comes around, and we're going to switch over here now to the camera of Jeff as the main camera. I do one bad thing here. Instead of doing everything I can to hang on, I let him go. I try to kind of get back up, because the gap is so big to the behind that, I should have done a little bit more to try to stay on. So Jeff, what's he doing here? Well, with this group of just 8 people left, he's got a little bit of a luxury of over half a lap or around half a lap to actually take a pole. So he comes in here, takes a pole. These guys are still worried about going. Jeff is not stupid, but everyone's rolling through here. He's not going to unload everything. As you can see, even these guys, they're not necessarily killing it. Now, Folsom Bike has 2 riders in the team, same team in this field. They have Rick in this break, actually. They have Rick and they have Cam Walker. So, yes, it's the last lap. People are yelling about that. So, it's kind of up to Folsom to do the lead out. Plus, I don't know which one of those guys is going to be their sprinter. They both finished pretty well, but everyone's somewhat motivated. So then you have Michael Claudio. Like I said, I don't think he's going to win from the sprint. My concern here would be Cam Walker, and Rick Reinert, and actually Chris Espy. I don't know much about. You have Josh Rennie, you have Chris Espy, Keith Solers, Cam Walker, Peter Keller, Michael Claudio, Jeff Scott in the break. So one last final right-hand corner. When John and I are doing a lead out in the 45s, we attacked right in this area, and I lead him out about halfway, not even, a few hundred, 100 or so here, and then he takes off and blows the sprint from about 300 or so, right about this spot. But these guys in a shorter, they don't have the lead out, and Jeff's kind of out in the wind, but he's more about position than anything. And here we go. Follow Chris Espy, who has a big lead, big jump, closes the door on him. Unfortunately, Chris Espy lets this back open. Jeff Scott with a last second burst. Bam, hits the line with the wind. You got Jeff Scott first, Josh Rennie of Reno, Nevada second, Chris Espy third, Rick Reinert fourth, Michael Claudio 5th, Keith Solers 6th, Cam Walker 7th, Peter Kelleher 8th. Another Yankee night. I stayed away from the pack. Then he had John Novikov coming in 10 with Josh Wood in 11th. Hey, everyone, thanks for joining us. Until next time, Between Two Wheels podcast. See ya.